Maximillion De Tite, intrepid explorer, stood on the white cliffs of Dover. The wind whipped through his hair as he gazed across the English Channel, his heart filled with a mix of trepidation and excitement. The white cliffs stood tall and proud, a symbol of the challenges that lay ahead. He had faced many adventures, but this one felt different. It was not just a journey, it was a quest for redemption. "Paris," he declared, "I shall conquer you." His voice echoed against the cliffs, a bold proclamation of his intent. The city of lights, with its grandeur and mystery, awaited him, but this time he would approach it in a way no one had ever dared before. He faced inland by walking backwards. Yes, backwards. It was an unconventional method, but Maximillion believed it would bring him luck. He had read ancient texts that spoke of the power of retracing one's steps to find new paths. And so with a deep breath he took his first step backward, leaving the cliffs behind. His last expedition to capture a live haggis had ended badly. The memory of that failure still haunted him. He had ventured into the wilds of Scotland, only to find himself lost and bewildered. His gear had been damaged and his spirit crushed, but he was determined to make amends. Belgium, not Scotland, had been his unexpected destination. Instead of the rugged highlands, he had stumbled into the quaint towns of Belgium. The locals had been kind, but their laughter at his predicament had stung. He had become a figure of ridicule, a cautionary tale for other explorers. Delila Ramsbottom, his beloved, had laughed herself silly. Her laughter had been the hardest to bear. Delila, with her sparkling eyes and infectious giggle, had been the love of his life. But his failure had driven a wedge between them. He could still hear her mocking laughter, a sound that spurred him on now. Backward to Paris, he vowed, to win back Delilah's heart. He clutched a heart-shaped locket she had given him, a symbol of their love. He would prove himself worthy of her affection once more. Paris would be the stage for his redemption. He set off, a spring in his step, his back to France. Each step backward was a step toward his destiny. The journey would be long and arduous, but he was ready. The road ahead, though unseen, was filled with promise. He tripped over a rabbit. "Blast it!" he cried, landing face first in a gorse bush. His journey had begun. Despite the initial setback, he picked himself up, dusted off his clothes and continued. Nothing would deter him. Paris awaited, and so did Delila. The memory of the haggis fiasco still stung. Armed with a net and a bagpipe, Maximillion had stalked the highlands of Belgium. "My map must be wrong," he'd declared. A confused Belgian farmer, clutching a waffle, had pointed him towards Scotland. He'd returned home defeated to Delilah's gales of laughter. "A haggis in Belgium, Maximillion?" she'd gasped, wiping tears from her eyes. "Oh, you are a silly sausage." This time Maximillion announced, "I shall circumnavigate Great Britain in a pedalo." Delila raised an eyebrow. "A pedalo, Maximillion? Isn't that a tad ambitious?" "Ambition," he declared, puffing out his chest, "is the hallmark of a true explorer." He unveiled his vessel. It was bright yellow, shaped like a duck, and christened Delilah's Delight. Delila, stifling a giggle, wished him luck. "Don't forget to pedal backwards when you round Land's End," she called after him. He waved, already dreaming of glory. The Delilah's Delight was not built for the open sea, nor, it turned out, for the Irish Sea. A particularly vigorous wave deposited Maximillion and his duck-shaped vessel on the beach at Southport. "Explorer conquers." Southport, a headline blared the next day. Reporters flocked to interview him. "The currents, you see," Maximillion explained, "were particularly treacherous." Desperate to escape the media frenzy, Maximillion set sail once more. "Onwards to Wales," he cried, mistaking the Menai Strait for the Bristol Channel. A rogue current had other ideas. He clung to the pedalo as it was swept along. "This isn't in my plans," he wailed as he disappeared around a bend, heading towards the heart of Wales. Section 6, Doris, the sheep and other Welsh wonders. He washed ashore, exhausted, in a field. A sheep chewing thoughtfully regarded him with mild curiosity. "Well, blow me down," Maximillion declared. "Never thought I'd see a sheep wearing lipstick." The sheep, who was in fact wearing lipstick, Ed. "Name's Doris," she said. Maximillion blinked. "Talking sheep," he muttered. "Wales is a strange and wonderful place." Doris, ever the hospitable hostess, offered him a cup of tea and a Welsh cake. Section 7. Woolly romance and eyebrow-raising. Life in Wales was peaceful. The rolling hills and lush green meadows provided a serene backdrop to the daily lives of the villagers. The air was fresh and the sound of birds chirping filled the atmosphere with a sense of tranquility. It was a place where time seemed to stand still and the hustle and bustle of the modern world felt like a distant memory. Maximillion, embraced by the local community, found himself strangely content. The villagers, with their warm smiles and welcoming nature, made him feel at home. He participated in local festivals, shared stories by the fireside, and slowly became an integral part of the community. The sense of belonging he felt was something he had never experienced before. He learned to shear sheep, milk a cow, and tend to the various farm animals. The physical labor was demanding, but it brought a sense of fulfillment. Each day he grew more adept at the tasks, earning the respect of the villagers. The connection he felt with the land and the animals was profound, grounding him in a way he had never anticipated, and even developed a taste for laverbread. This traditional Welsh delicacy made from seaweed was an acquired taste, but Maximillion found himself enjoying it more with each passing day. He relished the simple yet hearty meals shared with the villagers, appreciating the flavors and the sense of community that came with every bite. He and Doris, much to the astonishment of the other sheep, became inseparable. Doris, a particularly affectionate sheep, seemed to understand Maximillion in a way that no human ever had. They spent countless hours together, wandering the fields and enjoying the peacefulness of the countryside. Their bond was unique, a testament to the unexpected connections that life can bring. Their unconventional relationship raised a few eyebrows. The villagers, though generally accepting, couldn't help but gossip about the peculiar friendship between man and sheep. Whispers and curious glances followed them wherever they went, but Maximillion paid no mind. He had found a true companion in Doris, and that was all that mattered to him. "A sheep, Maximillion," whispered the villagers. But Maximillion didn't care. He was happy. The bond he shared with Doris was pure and untainted by societal norms. In her he found solace and a sense of peace that he had longed for all his life. The villagers' whispers were but a faint echo in the background of his contentment. And for the first time in his life, he was beginning to understand the meaning of the phrase, "Home is where the heart is." The village, with its charming simplicity and genuine people, had become his sanctuary. Maximillion realized that home wasn't just a place, but a feeling. A sense of belonging and love that he had finally found in the most unexpected of places. Section 8. The Continuing Adventures of Maximillion De Tite. News of Maximillion's unconventional life reached Delila. She had always known him to be a man of grand ambitions and wild dreams, but this was something she had never expected. The letter she received was filled with tales of his new life, a life so different from the one they had once imagined together. Intrigued and somewhat bewildered, Delila decided to journey to Wales. She travelled through the rolling hills and picturesque countryside, her mind racing with thoughts of what she might find. She expected to see a man broken by the weight of his dreams, pining for the life he had left behind. Instead, she found him shearing sheep, a beatific smile on his face, Doris by his side. The scene was almost surreal. Maximillion, the man who had once sought to conquer the world, now seemed perfectly content in this simple pastoral life. The sheep with their woolly coats and gentle eyes seemed to share in his happiness. "Maximillion," she said, "what are you doing?" Her voice was filled with a mix of confusion and curiosity. This was not the man she had known, the man who had always been chasing after the next big adventure. He looked up, a lock of sheep's wool dangling from his nose. His eyes twinkled with a mischievous light, and he seemed more alive than she had ever seen him. There was a sense of peace about him, a contentment that she had never associated with the restless explorer. "Living the dream, Delilah," he replied, "living the dream." His words were simple, but they carried a profound truth. He had found something here that he had never found in all his travels and adventures. He had found a sense of belonging, a sense of home. Delilah, for the first time in her life, was speechless. She had come expecting to find a man lost and adrift, but instead she found a man who had found his true north. The shock of it left her momentarily at a loss for words, and so Maximillion De Tite, the explorer who'd set out to conquer the world, found his greatest adventure in the most unexpected of places. It was not in the distant lands he had dreamed of, but in the quiet, unassuming hills of Wales. Here he discovered that the greatest adventures are not always the ones that take us far from home, but the ones that bring us closer to ourselves. He learned that sometimes the greatest journey is the one that leads us home. It is a journey that requires no maps or compasses, only an open heart and a willingness to embrace the unexpected. In the end, it is the journey within that matters most. Even if home happens to be a Welsh hillside shared with a lipstick-wearing sheep. And so, Maximilian's story reminds us that true adventure lies not in the places we go, but in the people we become along the way. Section 9. Epilogue. A toast to the intrepid explorer. The tale of Maximillion De Tite became local legend. He and Doris, the unlikeliest of couples, lived happily ever after, proving that love, like adventure, can be found in the most unexpected of places. So, raise a glass to Maximilian, the explorer who discovered that the greatest journey is the one that leads us to ourselves.
In the early decades of the 21st century, humanity stands on the precipice of an extraordinary leap in its spacefaring ambitions, the first manned mission to Mars. This monumental journey aboard SpaceX's Starship is poised to transform our understanding of space travel, human survival in deep space, and the very nature of life on other planets. This video explores the extensive preparations, the scientific and technological challenges, and the myriad of risks associated with such a mission.